Jumping in, I was kind of just hoping that I didn't need a business model. Money would kind of just show up. I wish someone explained this to me when I was first starting out making content as an entrepreneur like 2 years ago. Some of this might sound very naive and obvious, but I think it's precisely why it's not talked about and emphasized enough. So if you're building something, I strongly recommend watching this video to the end as I explain what's going on, because I think this is such an insidious trap that I find myself and so many other builders and creators falling prey to because we're an especially optimistic group of people. And that magnifies the consequences if you don't have this understanding really locked in at a deep level. And I'm gonna go and talk about this as it applies to entrepreneurship, but it serves as a broad analogy really for life as well, if you're pursuing anything or trying to make something happen. So for those of you who have been following me, hi, it's good to be back. Thank you so much for all your support while I was gone. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about why I left, where I've been, and I have a few announcements at the end about where things are going and a couple things I'm launching. So if nothing else, please make sure to watch that at the end. I'll put the timestamp here if you wanna jump to it. But otherwise, let's jump in. If you're anything like me, you're an optimist, and you got started creating something or chasing your dreams because you saw this opportunity of the internet to make money doing something you love, being able to put something out into the world and have it come alive and impact a lot of people. But you see, I think there's a hidden problem here because the way we talk about this opportunity, as it's presented to us in the media and in conversation, it's very skewed. The media shows us these viral stars and makes getting lucky look like the way to success. So if you were to hypothetically graph it out, this is how much we talk about something based on how unlikely the result is. So you can see here, we end up disproportionately talking more about these outliers that are less likely to happen. And from the way our brains work, from a neurological perspective, repetition creates trust. And we start to associate things that we see or hear more often as being more normal, safe, or common. And if you plot all this out on a graph, you start to see a problem emerging here, because this is how the typical normal distribution of results actually looks. You can see here how the most unrealistic, least probable results get the most airtime. The media makes it seem like relying on hope is a viable business model, because that's all you read about in the news and how you hear people talking about these success stories and how someone posted a video online and got millions of views, or someone, creating some website and it getting tons and tons of page visits and overnight they're a millionaire. But relying on luck alone, if you're really talking about the stats and the facts, you're vastly more likely to end up on the side of the graph which no one is talking about. And that can become pretty dangerous actually when you're investing your life savings and years of your life into building something, these resources that you won't ever get back. So we start to get a very skewed view about what a smart strategy looks like. And unfortunately, it gets even worse. When we dive into doing something, whether it be YouTube or building a business, I think that initial shock of us jumping in and realizing things are harder than we expected it to be throws us into this place of uncertainty. And unfortunately, that uncertainty causes many of us to double down on this flawed strategy of hoping harder, just putting our head down and grinding, just hoping that one day it'll be our shot. And I'm not, in the military or anything, but I bet you if you asked any general from any time period, they would tell you that having incorrect information about the battlefield is what leads to a tremendous amount of needless casualty and suffering. And so I think it's a similar case when it comes to business and creating things online. And so like in my case with this channel, I started off 2 years ago and pulled out all my savings and just kind of plowed forward hoping that YouTube would work. And looking back, I was kind of living a dream, if I'm completely honest. During that time when I was pushing, I thought it would work because I saw other people work. I saw data points saying that other people did this thing and it worked for them. Therefore, if I try hard enough, if I try long enough, it'll work for me. And while that's true to an extent, I didn't really have any other thoughts about the business model. Jumping in, I was kind of just hoping that I would be one of the few people who didn't need a business model. Money would kind of just show up. And as I've been working on this and learning more about this, learning more about myself and how I react in uncertainty and just how the world functions, all these systems interlocking and making the world work together, I'm realizing that was sort of a flawed strategy to go in, to begin with. Really, it comes down to this, like, you have to have something besides luck that you're counting on if you're going to succeed as a creator or an entrepreneur or just a human being living on planet Earth with any goals of any kind that you want to achieve in life. In Silicon Valley here, we have this saying of build it and they will come. Making something awesome and somehow the universe is going to reward you. You're just going to have a bunch of people paying you a ton of money because you made this thing and you deserve it. And that's kind of the same thing as waiting to get lucky. But I think the startup world has finally gotten smart about this and is about 5 to 10 years ahead of the content YouTube world in this respect. They finally understood that hope isn't a viable business strategy. Because after countless VCs invested billions and billions of dollars into these failed startups that were all just hype from the beginning with no business model, people's sentiments in Silicon Valley started to finally change. So people are finally waking up and using this quote now kind of in the more ironic sense as an example of bad advice. We use this to teach young entrepreneurs that, hey, no matter how badly you want to build this thing, no matter how fun it is to just dive in, put your head down and start building, you got to realize that it could be a massive waste of time at the end of the day if you don't start with a reason. Why would someone want to give me their time, much less their hard-earned money? And I think that's a lesson that the content world could really learn from Silicon Valley. Again, I think in a couple years, since the content world is a little bit behind Silicon Valley, I think we're finally going to have it be commonplace for people to realize this. In the creator community, you can't just build stuff expecting to succeed. It's okay to create as an art form. It's okay to create as an outlet to make what you want to make and express yourself. I think that's amazing. But the problem happens when you stake your livelihood on something. You got to approach it in a smart way. And so if you find yourself in this world of content and things aren't really working for yourself, maybe it's best to take a step back, and kind of look at it with fresh eyes and say, okay, can I actually justify this as a strategy beyond just hope? Because right now I see a whole bunch of creators making this mistake and wasting so much time and frustration, not realizing that hope is not a viable business model. There's another better strategy, than waiting for luck. One that you actually have agency to control and go make things happen. And that's where you go and you just find out what people need and go earn their attention and go earn their money by creating something with them in mind. Building a product that's designed to serve rather than just shine a spotlight on you, the creator. And so to do this, you really have to listen to what people want. Try to figure out what gaps they have in their lives, how they need to be served, so you can create something that they need and will pay for. And in that way, you'll finally have this income engine that will fund and support the work that you're doing, things that you really care about. And speaking of listening to your audience, if I've said anything so far that resonates with you, please let me know by hitting the like button. That really helps a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate that. That really helps support the work I'm doing here. So yeah, that's why I stepped away from YouTube for the last half year. I was draining my savings and resources, realizing, wow, this isn't going to work. Hoping is not a viable business strategy. I realized I needed to do something different because otherwise your work just becomes this liability that you have to fund, like another mouth you have to feed aside from just yourself. Because work takes materials, it takes time away from what you could be doing. And so in order for you to accommodate all that, to build something, you have to have it sustain itself in some way. And that's where this new strategy comes in. So I took a long, hard look at what many of you were asking to learn from me, what you wanted me to help with, and where my skill set could be beneficial, rather than just throwing a bunch of noise, more noise onto the internet. We have enough of that already. And what stood out was so many of you asking me how to design a cinematic filming studio to film your videos in at home. So over the past couple months, I've been testing that hypothesis, teaching some of you how to do this, building and refining a curriculum about guiding beginner and intermediate video creators like yourself through this process that will result in you having a fully designed and ready-to-use studio that can accelerate your content business to the next level. And I'm proud to announce that my Dream Studio course is finally launched. So if you're looking to start or improve your videos, consider checking this out because I made it specifically for video creators like you guys to save you a lot of time and headache. And if not yourself, maybe share this with someone you know who could benefit from this course. It's where I break down how I set up my studios and is the step-by-step guide that I wish I had when I first started years ago. And if you're curious how I set up this specific studio setup behind the scenes, talking lights, camera, audio, and all that stuff, I go in and break down specifically how I place everything, how I set everything up, including this specific set right here. So go check that out if you're interested. There's a special discount code for you in the description as a special thank you for supporting my channel. Anyways, so enough about me. Coming back to the point of this video, I wanted to leave you all with a question for today. Think about whatever you're chasing, whatever it is you're trying to build or achieve. If you boil down your strategy to trying to achieve that thing, is it a glorified strategy of hope at the end of the day? Or is there something solid under there where you are listening to people and creating something that the world is actually asking of you? There's this great quote by Sophocles, and he says, "If we always helped one another, no one would need luck." And I think that's a really powerful quote because it really shows the purpose behind business. As much as business gets a lot of hate, in the media these days, I found that it's a beautiful alignment of incentives where your self-interests are finally aligned with helping the people around you. The best way to serve your best interest is to serve the best interest of other people. And that this concept of a zero-sum game that many of us are brought up to believe, if I win, you lose, and if you win, I lose, it's not really how the world works. When you finally drop having hope as your only business strategy, it's kind of crazy, the transition that follows. And I've seen that's where the pieces really start to fall into place. Things start feeling more like flow and less like friction, less like you're pushing against something that doesn't seem to be moving. And ultimately, this sense of uncertainty finally starts to dissolve. And it's just a night and day difference when you're going from hoping, trying to just hope I get this chance, I hope I get this break, and I've got nothing I can do to make my chances any better, to realizing all I gotta do is just help people, And I just can't put into words how fundamentally different those two mentalities are and how big a difference it's gonna be for you if you start to see the world in a different way. I hope this message finds you well, my friends. It's really good to be back. I'm gonna start finally posting a lot more on YouTube again now that I have the course finished. And it's a way for me to support the work that I'm doing here. Moving forward, I'm gonna be making a lot more content about this kind of stuff in this video and the studio type of stuff. But again, a lot of it is gonna be listening and trying to figure out where I should go to help serve in the best capacity that I can. And now during this transition phase on my channel, I'm pretty sure the YouTube algorithm is gonna be a little bit confused. So I've made an email newsletter to share my updates on projects and new things I'm working on and little nuggets that I think you're gonna find insightful and helpful. The link to that email newsletter is in the description somewhere, and you'll be added to be a part of my internet family thing, inner circle, I don't know what to call it. You'll hear from me every now and then. So with that, much love, my friends. If you like this video, I made a couple more videos somewhere on screen, kind of on a similar topic that I think you might also enjoy and find value in. So click over there, wherever it is, and I'll see you over there in just a second. Sweet!